2 minutes behind, unfortunately. We're going to call the meeting to order for tonight. First thing will be the invitation.
Bow our heads. Dear Lord, we pray that your guidance allows us to make wise choices for our city tonight. May your will be done as always as we move forward. And bless those who continually protect us. In Christ's name, amen.
All right, everybody can hear me okay? All right. As I say in every meeting that we have, the rules of decorum are in effect. Basically, that fancy word means we treat each other with respect and we act like adults. All right, next up is going to be citizens' comments. Folks, you have the forms that you filled out for us. You have 5 minutes, okay? So please adhere to that. I'll call you in the order that I received these forms. First one, Caitlin McNeil. If you'll go up to the podium, turn it on, state your name and your address.
My name is Caitlin McNeil. I live at 1217 Livorno Drive, Rockwall, Texas, in McLendon-Chisholm. I want to speak on behalf of not being in favor of this project. As a recent graduate of Rockwall Heath High School, I know the crowds in this classroom and hallways and how the traffic has already affected students on being late to class or getting to class on time. I'm sure we can say leave earlier and you can avoid that, but that is just not a remedy that solves everything with everyone leaving early. We don't have any other schools in place, and I know the overcrowding will lead to exactly the issue that Forney has now. I would encourage each of you on the council to drive through Forney one week at various times and let me know if the experience is gratifying or if you can build this project and find out for yourselves here in our city. Everyone loves growth, and I'm in favor of growth if it is done right and with the correct control of density. If they are wanting to build 1,700 homes, then that means our roads are going to be crowded and become more dangerous, and accidents will happen. I'm sure they can happen now, but when you add more potential issues, then you will for sure have a chaotic ending. Grow, yes, but grow correctly and at a pace that makes sense. Build out the roads, make places to eat and buy groceries, get an infrastructure in place that will support the homes being built. Make it make sense, and then of course anyone would be in favor of it. Right now it does not make sense to do this. One could easily reference cart before the horse in this. My dad has always taught me to stand up for these things I see. My dad is a council member here tonight. I'm proud of him, and I know that he is proud of me for speaking tonight. I have listened to his prayers on this subject. I have listened to conversations he has had and concerns, and I support my dad, and that is why I'm here speaking tonight. Councilman McNeil, maybe you know him, but he is dad to me and his faith and moral compass. I know will never be in question when he votes on any matter. He has always been there for the people, and by the people, you want to know the measure of a man. Stand with him when he salutes a fallen officer's funeral. Stand with him for hours holding a flag and a full dress blues to honor the fallen. Stand with him raising money for military amputees and make sure kids get Christmas. Thank you for your time tonight, and thank you for all your service to our city. Again, our city. Protect your city as if you would protect your home. Nobody comes in our home and tells us how to run it. And the Huff Hines group is going to be that somebody. It is now time to remind them they're nobody. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. All right. Make sure I don't butcher people's last names. I don't like doing that. Is it Kim Townsend? Is that correct? You're up next.
Hey, y'all.
Hi.
My name's Kim Townsend. I live right over here in Heath. I think we're the last little house before it becomes all country and whatnot. And I had no idea about this meeting until this morning, and I had no idea I was going to talk to about 15 minutes ago. So, excuse me for being a little bit nervous. I'm unscripted. But the reason I wanted to talk is because I'm not anti-progress. I understand. I certainly understand people wanting to escape certain states in our nation and come to our good life, our beautiful state, and this gorgeous country, which is ceasing to be country. But the reason I'm wanting to talk to y'all is because I'm a beekeeper, and I have about 100 hives. I manage hives for other people in this immediate area, like a quarter mile any direction, and certainly within 2 or 3 miles in any direction. And some of these folks have bees for ag valuation purposes, which is awesome. But what I'm seeing as a beekeeper, and by the way, I just got back late last night from a national bee conference called Hive Life, and this is a major topic of conversation amongst beekeepers. And I just want y'all to know that when these developments come in and they grade the land, there goes the wildflowers. There goes the foraging for these bees. And, you know, they say that 2 out of every 3 bites of food that we put in our mouths every single day had to have been pollinated. Well, that only happens from bees and you know, butterflies and whatnot. But although there's hundreds of kinds of bees, only one kind makes honey. Those are the kind that I manage, and that's honeybees. And when hundreds of acres of forageable land get graded and people put in golf course type lawns, it becomes a nutritional dearth, not just for bees, but for butterflies and everything else. The pretty grass does nothing for nature, frankly, and for us. And I think we all like to eat. I know I do. And bees are essential. So as a beekeeper, I'm just begging y'all, please don't let everything that the bees eat go away. As it is, if you've noticed, honey prices have gone up. It's because we have a harder time finding foraging materials. We're also dependent on weather. Honeybees are a livestock, and we're completely dependent on nature, and now we're dependent on you. I certainly am. I'm absolutely dependent on this decision, and it's heartbreaking to me. I had some hives right up morning, and one day I went back, and there was heavy equipment working all back over in this direction. And I mean, in no time at all, it's just rooftops. And those bees are starving out. And I'm not exaggerating that. They're literally starving out. I can feed them, but nobody wants to buy a sugar syrup. You know, y'all want to buy honey, and that has to come from nature and God. So I can only feed so much. So I just want you to know it's absolutely essential. We need the bees. Thank y'all.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. I will tell you one thing that I have learned about beekeepers and honey. I have allergy problems, and being able to get locally sourced honey actually helps with your allergies. So I understand where she's coming from. Miss Adrian, you want to wait? Okay. Mark? Yeah.
Mark Kippett, 31 Fireside, McLendon-Chisholm. I'm concerned about the item 6.6, the discussion and possibility of action regarding amending the food truck ordinance. There wasn't any supporting material, so I may be 100% wrong on this, but if it involves...
Can I
Yes, sir.
say something? And that way you're not wasting
sure,
your time.
absolutely.
Once we get to the agenda items, that's actually going to be pulled.
Oh, okay. All right, good.
Yeah.
Well, then,
That
so
way, if you want to continue to talk,
No,
sure,
no.
but
I
I'm
was
going
the
to actually pull
my
that.
only recommendation was going to be, given the nature that planning and zoning had looked through that prior, that development or that development of that property commercially, that it would be appropriate for council to have that go back to planning and zoning first for reconsideration before it be brought back to you.
Okay. Thank you,
Thank you.
sir. All right. Ms. Britta? Next.
All right. We are on the brink of a catastrophic shift in our communities.
Oh, hold on.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Your address too, please.
Yes, Britta Joe, 256 Stevens Road, Rockwall, Texas. Okay. We are on the brink of a catastrophic shift in our communities. The legislature, passed by the state government in 2019, has now had 3 years to play out, and we are seeing the ramifications in small towns all across the state of Texas. There is unprecedented growth fueled by greedy developers whose bottom line is profit, not sustainability. And it is gutting Texas small towns and communities that cannot keep up and are left holding the bag. Often we don't see the effects of the decisions the big government makes until years later. But when that moment comes and we see the error of the decisions made, it falls to the people of the nation to rise up and demand change. Now is that moment for our town. A door is about to be opened that will set the precedent for high-density development in McLendon-Chisholm. Make no mistake, if you think Trilogy is as bad as it gets, 5 years from now, we will all look back and realize it was just the tip of the iceberg. Tonight, I want to provide perspective on what this could actually mean for all of us. Anyone who lives in McLendon-Chisholm knows that you have struggled to have enough water for your current residents, as shown by the water restrictions last summer, and the entire day your residents went without water because you'd used up your allotment from RCH. In the city council meeting last month, a woman right here from your staff spoke about her efforts to resolve the water problem and mentioned that no agreement had been signed. Thus, you have no current solution for the crisis. And even if she tells us tonight that you do, it will take time for that to be implemented. So why on earth are we allowing more homes to be built when we can't even provide adequate water for the homes that are already here? Here is my best guess. Mayor Short, you told us in the last meeting when you spoke as a citizen and not as the mayor that, quote, as a citizen, I have my ideas and thoughts and dreams about here. Well, someone in the audience who was curious about what those might be went and found an article in the Blue Ribbon News from February 2020 when you were seeking re-election as mayor. Mm-hmm. In that article, it says, Mayor Short is committed to keeping McLendon-Chisholm friendly with rural traditions based on family values. And then they quote you saying, we will make sure future growth is supported by the infrastructure required to maintain our high-quality, low-density rural environment that benefits all residents. So based on what you said when everyone voted you in again as mayor, you and I have the same thoughts and dreams about where we live. So then why on earth did we agree to this development with Huffines? The only answer I can come up with is that Huffines came in and scared the heck out of y'all with exactly what their lawyer kept telling all of us at the last meeting, which is, there's nothing you can do about it. Well, guess what? I'm doing something about it. And I have thousands of people in our community who are rallying behind me to do something about it. And here's the reality, Mayor Short and council members. I want to believe what he said. I want to believe you that the things you said when you ran for re-election in 2020 are what you want most for McLendon-Chisholm. That's what you were elected on, your ideas and thoughts and dreams for this place we call home. In that Blue Ribbon interview, you also said the following: the last 2 years, we have been reestablishing the trust by our community and their city government. If you really value that trust that you spent 2 years reestablishing, then now is your moment to turn this ship around and show your citizens that you stand by your word. Because here's the thing, everybody knows now. They all know what a terrible deal this agreement with Huffines is. And they're going to continue to know. They are reading the emails and the flyers and the texts our group is sending out. And then they're sharing them with their friends and neighbors. So the question you have before you now, before all of you, is which side do you truly want to be on? Because here's the thing, I'm not against you. Guess what? We drive on the same roads. Our kids play on the same YMCA or Lake Point teams. There are people in this room whose addresses reside in the city of Heath, but sit next to you at church, and when you're at dinner with your family, it's standard service. We all live in the same community. This is not like a Plano versus McKinney kind of thing. This is a small town.
It's been 5 minutes, Mayor.
You're at your time limit.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Final thing I wanted to say, we're wasting our precious time and resources fighting each other when there's an opportunity to come together and fight what all of us don't want, which is max density development in our town.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. I hope I get it right. Ron, is it LaRue? Okay.
I am Ron LaRue at 3401 West FM 550. I spoke at the last meeting. Again, I want to thank council and city staff for dedicating your time and effort to this issue. But I also would like to recommend that we change the rules up a little to meet the needs of the community here. Obviously, there are concerned citizens here, and the forum that you guys have, and it's the same in Heath and other places I've been to city council meetings, is we get up, we talk, blah, 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 and then a few items later, something gets passed, and it's as if you didn't hear us. And we'd like to come with solutions and work together. And I'm suggesting that we have like a meeting where this concerned citizens, Ms. Britta could be our lead, just for example, or suggestion, where we're organized and we sit down in a civil manner and discuss options, because there's a lot of misinformation in this development. But what I do know is, in opposition of this, is that it will hurt the bees. Jared, my next door neighbor, and myself, we both have bees. But I do know that already we're seeing all kinds of trucks come down Pullen Road. So we live right at the end of Pullen Road, and those trucks are nonstop now, and they're huge, and they are flying down that road, and that road is just getting torn up. So the infrastructure is already not there, but it's just getting worse day by day. And then when we pull out, I mean, it's just like, you better hit the gas and get out on 550, or you might get run over right there, because people come flying over those hills, and that's just going to get worse. And I agree with what the first speaker said, is we need the infrastructure first. Let's get the infrastructure. Take that COVID money I saw on the agenda, you know, $800,000 worth of COVID, instead of putting $100,000 toward roads, you know, do something to develop this area. Also, in the spirit of density, you know, or, you know, keeping with the standards around here, we need to keep the density a little bit lower. But if we could all meet and come to some kind of agreement with that, versus we talk to y'all, y'all talk to us, and it's just a done deal, I would love to see that happen. And then my time's almost up. The depreciation over at Travis Ranch is, it's terrible, because when Travis, and the reason I bring that up is I feel like that's what's going to happen right here in our neighborhood. Ma'am, I see you're shaking your head no, but is that based, again, there's no dialogue here, right? Like, why would you say no to that when you're talking about high density homes in a small area without like the infrastructure? Like when you drive to Heath and take a left and go to Forney, like you're going to 80, it's a freaking zoo there now with the red lights and the traffic. But I had a friend of a friend that moved into Travis Ranch a few years ago, and he couldn't sell his place without taking a loss out when he became debilitated. And I also knew some people, our kids went to Heritage Christian Academy, and some of the kids from there went there, and the parents said the crime in that neighborhood was just awful. I hate to see that happen right here in our backyard. So that's my 2 cents, and I'd love to have more of a dialogue. Thank you.
Thank you for your time, sir. All right. Sarah Lands, did I say it right?
I think I need a stool. Sarah Lands, 1 Westchester Court, Kearney. So I was here at the last meeting and came a little late, didn't fill out, well, I did fill out my stuff, but I didn't get turned in on time. I was the one, full disclosure, that while you were speaking, Mayor Short, about all the information as a citizen, that I stood up and was like, I just want to know, no, he said bad information, which is different than misinformation, but I just wanted to know what that was, and also why you thought this was a good, you know, beneficial to the city. And you wouldn't answer me because you said you were speaking as a citizen, which really, as I went home, I'm just like, really bothered me, because as a citizen, it should be even more important to you because you live here. So that just really, like, that's just been really bothering me a lot. I would like for you to address that at some point, if that would be fantastic. I can't imagine living here why you would think that 1,700 new homes would be good for your community. I just can't even fathom, because it's also, if you have information, why would you not put it out there? You know, if we have gotten it wrong, you live here, you're the mayor. Like, you obviously probably know more than us. Why would you not share that information? Maybe we don't know some of the things, but you refuse to do that, and that really bothered me. Also, the fact that I've been to 2 city council meetings in my entire life, and I live in Heath, and they've both been in McLendon-Chisholm, is odd. But I do have confidence in our mayor of Heath that I know that he's going to do what's in the best interest for the city and for the citizens, which is your only job, is to do what is in the best interest. Now, the last meeting I did read up on the comprehensive plan, which on your website was 2015, and I realized that was probably going to be out of, you know, not up to date. I noticed today that it was up to date, which is interesting. And it still said that the plan for the city, well, it was interesting also that it talked a lot about, not this development, but it was very aligned with it. Possibly that we don't want this, but it could happen. You know, they could do it, and it's beyond our control because of the, whatever it's called, ETJ or whatever. I don't know all the terms. I'm not a developer. And that was also odd to me, that was the beginning of it, and it was just passed in September. And the attorney, sorry, I don't remember her name, for Huffines, started out by saying, we waited to submit our proposal until the 2021 plan was in place. How did they know to wait until the 2021 plan was in place if they didn't already know what was on that plan? Also odd. And I think as a citizen, like, it doesn't look right. And it's not what you guys would want. I don't think it's what anybody wants. There is not one single person, unless the attorney's here, that wants this. Your survey on your comprehensive plan, you took 300 some odd people that you surveyed. Not one of them said they wanted high-density housing. They said they wanted 1 acre max. And we know, like, everything's changing. You know, we wanted 1 acre. I actually live on an acre, but, you know, it's going to change, obviously. But it doesn't need to change to this. And land is going to be developed. It is what it is. Unfortunately, you know, I'm driving here with my daughters, and I'm saying, like, we drive past this all the time. It's like one of our favorite things. Look at the Christmas lights, the farm. I don't know if the people are here that have all the Christmas lights. I was like, this could all be housing. This would all be driving by Travis Ranch, which we have a boat. We're on the lake. Travis Ranch has completely ruined our favorite cove because now they've torn all the trees down. So windy. It is what it is. Like, it's coming, but it doesn't have to be that. It could be a Ridge Lakes. It could be a Stoneleigh. It doesn't have to be that many houses. There's no reason for that. There really isn't. There's plenty of people that want to move here. You know, you say, like, your average house price was 500 something thousand. Do you want it to be 500,000, or do you want it to be 200? Do you want to have those billboards on 30 that say, come live in Trilogy McLendon-Chisholm? Nobody knows who McLendon-Chisholm is at this point. I mean, I've lived here for 8 years, and I still can't figure out how to spell it, sadly. But do you want that? Do you want that to be who McLendon-Chisholm is? And do you want that to be your legacy? Because this is your legacy. You have the choice. And this is who you will be remembered as. You'll be remembered as Trilogy, or you will be remembered as the mayor that fought this. And then you go up higher. So, thank you.
All right, thank you, ma'am. All right. Is it Kathleen Leahy? Did I get it right? A little hard to read all of your printing on your first name. Okay.
Felt like I was in class all over again. Good evening, y'all. I apologize I wasn't able to be at the last meeting, but I did listen in virtually, so I got some of the gist of kind of the conversations and stuff. So again, this is regarding the Trilogy development.
Excuse me, where do you live?
Oh, I'm
Oh,
so
yeah,
sorry.
we got-
Yeah,
you gotta have your
Kathleen
address,
Leahy,
sorry.
1 Rockingham Heath, Texas, and that's in Stoneleigh. So again, regarding 6.8, I'm calling this the city within the city. The Heath Lottery. So I know we're in McLendon-Chisholm, but that's what my dad always called it. Many of you probably haven't heard of it, but my dad truly believed that he had won it. My parents grew up as neighbors in the high-density housing of Chicago, Illinois. My dad married the girl next door. And you see, my dad promised my mom one day that he would buy her a house with some land. He worked so hard to find it, and he was so proud of that farmhouse he found in Heath. He was especially thankful at the time for the zoning requirements and protections on lot sizes back then. He'd tell everyone back home in Chicago how amazing it was that they were actually protecting this. It was from the concrete, high-density jungle to the American dream, his lottery. I know many people who have moved here and feel the same way about Rockwall County. That bit of space is what makes us unique and sought after. Same thing in McLendon-Chisholm. I, too, am passionate about our little community. I grew up here. I've seen it transform and grow. No developments here, and again, we realize that's going to come, and I've enjoyed a lot of the development that's occurred, but I want it to be done responsibly. When the time came, my husband and I knew this is where we wanted to raise our family. We found our dream house in Stoneleigh, and for the last 5 or so years, I have served on the board of our neighborhood HOA. We now have something around 257 home sites in our neighborhood. It's about to be completed, and it's directly impacted by this development. I love my neighbors and my community, and this hurts. For most, the biggest investment is your home. You have to protect that. Our home values. My son is a really avid fisherman, so he loves the ponds and creeks around Stoneleigh. And all the kids, like to play around there. And wastewater was never something that I thought I would have to worry about living in Heath. Just never came up. Work considerations. Existing traffic, I know this has been brought up multiple times, but difficulty is already there with the commute right now. We have to work hard to pay for these dream homes that we have. All of that is threatened and jeopardized by this development and the consequences it brings. I recently accepted a new position within my company. The regional manager who covers some 5 states was so excited to have me until he was looking over my resume and realized I lived across the bridge in Rockwall County. And it had some immediate concerns for him, which thankfully we alleviated, but he knew, even living in San Antonio, how notorious the traffic was here. This was a dilemma in his decision. Thankfully, he accepted my qualifications, and I did get the position. But I understand that the drive time to get to the field, I would be working in Dallas County, is difficult, and it can be prohibitive for many if they have to do that. Another area that I'm very passionate about is emergency services. As a former healthcare worker and first responder, seconds really do count. How will we have the capacity to provide timely emergency services to this new city within a city and also help our existing residents? That is, if we even have the adequate personnel, how will they be able to get there? And if we can't drive on the roads, I don't know if we're going to start having numerous care flights or helicopters, but it's a real concern when you work in healthcare, as I do. And then, again, the water supply was brought up. So, again, adequate water supply with RCH. I was shocked when several of my friends called me and told me that they didn't have water that day, and really without warning. That was just crazy to me. School commute, the 5:50 a.m. traffic flow in the morning sometimes requires that I have, NASCAR-like skills to get out with kids to get them safely to school in the morning. And yesterday, my husband was leaving the Rise with my daughter and spent 45 minutes just trying to get out on 205. Schools that are already busting at the seams. On the south side, we have Kane Middle School as an example, with a high influx of students and some of those students actually do come from Travis Ranch, high-density housing. Of note, the number of disciplinary actions is significantly higher at Kane versus the other two middle schools in Rockwall, predominantly because they're over capacity. These kids are on top of each other. Lost my place here. While a new freshman center, I understand, is in the works, the district development as a consideration. Responsible development is key. Making life better for our tax-paying citizens, we must create infrastructure before, not after the fact. We need transparency with the residents. We need to have a voice for our county. Deals like these come as an attack on our citizens and serve to benefit only the developers who retreat to live in other cities. Sadly, the actions to approve this development by the McLendon City Council were not considerate or the best interest of the people that they were elected to represent. I do believe this will have damaging consequences to both McLendon-Chisholm, our neighbors in Heath, and Rockwall County as well. This truly jeopardizes our way of life and the dream we all purchased. Thank you.
Thank
Adrienne Baucom, 1518 Forensic Court. I am not employed by the city of McLendon-Chisholm. I am a citizen and taxpayer here in McLendon-Chisholm. I was appointed on the City Water Committee on November 4th of 2022. The reason why I've been involved is because I am a concerned citizen. I've been a concerned citizen since 2015. One of the things that I have said over and over again is about infrastructure. One of my first things that I came here to City Hall, which I was very unfamiliar with the ways of how government's supposed to work, was about road construction, infrastructure, all those types of issues, and I definitely came to bat when it came to sewer. But I wanted to discuss about some things that happened last month. I was here on December 13th, and one of the things that I said to the City Council and the City Administrator and the City Attorney that I recommended for them to contact Mr. Pullen to let him know that there's an option for, at cost, for paper ballots to be done for a potential election that would be done in January for RCH. Unfortunately, that was never done. January is notably supposed to be the time that RCH claimed that they were going to have an election, not just this past December, but as far back as August. They were standing right before you and said that they were making these promises of things that were supposed to happen, that they were going to be focusing on an election. They were going to put possibly 2 to 3 board members, and that was going to be on the ballot and this and that and everything. And they talked about, like, hey, you know, we're going to start working on the lines to be relocated on 205, and it just keeps on going on and on. And now here we are in January 4th meeting, and well, we still don't have a signed agreement. At the RCH January 4th meeting, there was they were planning to contact companies to facilitate an election that will potentially happen on March 29th. And 2 items that will be on there is the resolution to vote in favor of a sale to McLendon-Chisholm, and also for 1 board of director. Now, you understand that it's going to be on the billing. That's what they talked about. That will be on the February billing, okay? That's if they got a facilitator that's going to be mentioning that. And then the second thing they mentioned, that they were going to work on the recommendation from their attorney to find 2 other bids on, in addition to their previous engineer who wanted $500,000 up front to do the relocation of the water lines. Well, so I went ahead and contacted the TxDOT coordinator last week, and we had correspondence, and long story short, there has been no relocation plan submitted to them, and nor anything has been approved on the 205 project from RCH or their engineer or previous engineer or the contractor engineer, however you want to call it. And the last correspondence from RCH was on December 15, 2022, regarding the unknown status of their relocation plans. And so according to them, they decided to ask me some more questions, and we got to talking, and at the end of the day, they want to have more discussions with the city administrator and moving on forward. And so I ended up contacting Mr. Conrad on through via email on Monday to let him know that their interest. They also shared with me that RCH has been officially contacted by TxDOT since 2020 in December, and it wasn't until recently that they started talking about it. So I know that tonight that you're going to have a presentation from Coney and Horn, and this is the time right now that we need to start thinking about doing some administrative work. We need to start talking to the City of Water attorney and discuss what we need to do to move forward. Because let me just give you a little bit of understanding here. There is filing that has to be done with PUC. We all have the understanding about that. However, the time frame, we don't know. We are on an expedited list. Rockwall County is listed on that. The City of Fate started their paperwork for their CCN regarding the Mount Zion situation that they have there back in April, and they're just now wrapping up as of Black Friday. So, and as far as like financials that the consultant will look for, I just want to let you know that I already have that. I have it right here. 2 of the city council members have already seen this stuff. I have monthly billings that was sent to RCH, and as well as what was paid for in the last several years from Rockwall. In addition to that, I know what their water sales are dating back since 2017. That they submitted to TCEQ. So I just want to make sure that you have an understanding. These are very concerning issues. We need to do our part because we want better water management. And it's no question, I believe that y'all meant what you said when we first started having these discussions, and they were present, that they were going to do their due diligence. Is this due diligence to you, that there's been issues not having these concerns be, they need to be stepping up further than this. It's taken too much time. The TxDOT is expecting a let date on December 1st, 2020. So I hope that you do have discussions with Kinley Horn to address some of these concerns, and hopefully we'll get this resolved very soon.
Thank you. All right. Nothing else? All right, it's 7:10. Citizens' comments are closed for the evening. We're going to move to the consent agenda. We have 2 things on the consent agenda. Ms. Lorna?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to extract item 5.2 from the consent agenda since I was not present for the council meeting, which is item 5.1.
Okay. All right, we'll pull 5.2 off of there. So now I'll entertain a motion to approve 5.1, which is just the city council meeting minutes from December 13th.
Make a motion to accept the minutes from December 13th, 2022.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All right, and being that it's you too, if there's no discussion, all in favor? Aye?
Aye.
I would abstain.
All right, now, let's move to 5.2, resolution setting a public hearing on a proposed annexation. This is to set the date for the public hearing, is that correct? Okay. I'll entertain a motion to approve setting the public hearing date.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve the resolution setting the public hearing on the proposed annexation for January 24th, 2023.
All right, I've got a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, is there any discussion? If not, all in favor? Aye?
Aye.
All right, show those done. Next item up will be 6.1, Kinley Horn, Rockaway Water Professional Service Agreement. I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. This agenda item is to discuss action on professional services for the development of the city's roadway water and wastewater impact fees. Staff recommendations for approval. Fiscal impact is approximately $50,000 per study, which is somewhat less because of their involvement with us with a variety of different things. That the acquisition of information is less. The biggest, I guess, takeaway for this, and it is still a substantial amount of money for a city of any size. But basically what this does is require growth to pay for growth. Instead of our current existing residents paying for growth. We've heard of infrastructure and should have come before than after, and that's a huge discussion on how you pay for our infrastructure coming before than after you don't have the rooftops. However, this is a way to address that issue a little bit more. As growth comes, growth pays for growth, instead of our existing residents paying for growth and this infrastructure development. And the worst part of that is if our residents don't pay for it, it's just not paying for additional infrastructure, and then our infrastructure becomes antiquated and more costly. It becomes more costly to put that infrastructure in later. This activity that's being proposed, this impact fee study by Kimley Horn, is our comprehensive master plan, the City Council strategic priorities in a variety of places. And another thing is, with impact fee, with the approval of these impact fees, you can be reimbursed for the cost. So it's basically a loan, but the city can choose. I mean, whether you want to be reimbursed, but you can be reimbursed from impact fees for that money. So we have representatives from Kimley Horn that are here today with a very short presentation, and so we'll turn just a couple minutes, if that's okay, Mayor, over to them to walk through this presentation. Pete.
Evening, Mayor and Council. I'm Pete Kelly with Kimley Horn, and I'm the roadway impact fee specialist in our Fort Worth office. I'm also here with April Escamilla. She's the water and wastewater impact fee specialist on the proposal for this these impact fee studies. So I'm just going to take just a few minutes to try and explain some of the basics of what an impact fee study is, what are some of the benefits, what are some of the questions that are frequently asked, and what are the keys to a successful project. Next slide, please. And on to the next one. Next slide, please. So impact fees are a one-time fee for new development. So this is not a fee that existing residents would pay, nor is it a fee that is paid on a monthly basis. It is paid when a new development comes in and comes through the platting and building permit process. Impact fees are a mechanism to recover infrastructure costs required to serve future development. So impact fees cannot be used to perform maintenance on existing facilities or upsize facilities for existing developments. This is to respond to the demand being brought in by new development by providing fees to build new infrastructure.
Could I ask a quick question?
Yes.
Is that, can we charge an impact fee if that is a development that's in the county, or does it have to be within city limits?
For roadway impact fees, it has to be within the city limits. And for water and wastewater impact fees, it has to be within the CCN boundaries that the city serves.
Thank you.
Yes. And lastly, an impact fee is a legal way to collect a flexible fee for infrastructure, so it gives the city a freedom or flexibility to spend money on high priority projects within a broader service area. And so with roadway impact fees, sometimes a larger city has to be divided up to multiple service areas. We believe that McLendon-Chisholm would be one service area for roadway, and you have a few different CCNs for water, wastewater. Next slide, please. So why use impact fees? The four main points that we like to point out are impact fees are equitable, predictable, ensures accountability, and they're proportional. They're equitable because they barring existing ordinances, development pays an equal fee whether they come in first, whether they come in last. So you don't have the person coming in first paying for all the infrastructure, or the person coming in last getting kind of a free ride. So no matter when you come, you pay the same fee. And the fee schedule, it's predictable, so it's made available online. Developers, when they come, they know what they're going to pay. We have development partners in our office. They're frequently looking at new developments. The first question they ask is, what is the impact fee? So it's something that's frequently inspected and looked at. It ensures accountability in that state law requires that impact fees are spent within a certain amount of time or they're refunded to the property owner. And it also is proportional because it's directly related to the amount of demand generated by the development. So it's not going to be a fee above and beyond the demand that the development is generating. Next slide, please. Oh, thank you. You're already there. So there are some things that impact fees can and cannot pay for. Some things that can be paid for by impact fees are construction costs of capital improvements plan. So that's a plan that's put forth for roadway, water, and wastewater that identifies projects to serve new infrastructure. So upsize roads, upsize water and wastewater lines, and new roads, new water and wastewater infrastructure as well. So those CIPs would be part of the impact fee study. So impact fees can be spent to build the projects on those CIPs. They can be spent on survey and engineering fees, on land acquisition costs, also on debt service for impact. If debt is used to build a road and impact fees are collected, those impact fees can be used to pay down that debt service later, as long as that road is on the impact fee CIP. And lastly, they can also be used to reimburse the cost of the study itself. So as you pay for the study and as you collect impact fees, those impact fees can reimburse the cost of the study. Things that cannot be paid for with impact fees are projects that are not identified in the water, wastewater, and roadway CIPs, repair and operation and maintenance of existing facilities, upgrades to serve existing development, and administrative costs of administering the impact fee program. So some frequently asked questions. Are there any checks and balances to how an impact fee study is done? It is required by state law that these be done by an independent licensed professional to do land use assumptions, master plans, capital improvement plans, and a maximum testable fee calculation. And another requirement for an impact fee adoption is that a committee is established. It's referred to as the Capital Improvements Advisory Committee, and their role is to review the land use assumptions and the capital improvements plan and to advise council. Typically, this is the Planning and Zoning Commission in most communities, but it could be a separate body entirely. So that's all governed by the Local Government Code, Chapter 395. To administer. So typically the way it's done is when a development comes in for water and wastewater fees, it's based on the meter size. So there'll be a certain fee for the single family home standard meter size, and then any larger meter size will be a multiple factor of that. For roadway, it is a little more detailed for roadway, but generally the principle is the more traffic you generate, the higher the fee is going to be. Another thing is, another requirement is that impact fee studies do need to be updated every 5 years, just to make sure that costs and growth assumptions are being checked and being reevaluated consistently. There is an option to readopt the same study from 5 years ago, but only once, so that can only last a 10-year window. And impact fees collected in a service area must be spent within that service area. Also, I just want to mention that the study would calculate a maximum fee that could be charged, and council can choose to charge that fee or charge anything lower than that fee if they choose. So keys to a successful project are having defensible and up-to-date master plans. We have the comprehensive plan, which was just adopted in 2021. Having support from the city management and city council, and having stakeholder involvement is important as well. Bodies like the Real Estate Council, Chamber of Commerce, Builder Association, neighborhood associations, we try to involve all affected stakeholders, and also having a collective understanding of the project goals and objectives by citizens, developers, and city staff. And also we like to provide good comparison data of what some of the surrounding cities are doing, what they're charging, so you can make good decisions as far as your economic development goes. And lastly, we just want to highlight, I know this is going to be too small to read for most of you. If you have it in your package, you'll be able to see it. But this is a list of cities that Kimley-Horn has done impact fee updates in since we've been doing impact fees. That's over 20 years now. So there's over 45 cities on this list. You'll notice that Fate is on the list. Heath is a city that has them. We didn't do that study, but so that's why they're not on this list. But most of the cities in the Metroplex charge either a roadway or water, wastewater impact fee. A lot of them do all three. We've had the privilege of serving these cities, and we look forward to having the opportunity to serve you as well. With that, I'll open up to any questions you might have. Laura? Daniel?
I think you're good, man. I think you did a good presentation.
Thank you.
Conrad, are we entertaining a motion on this to approve this?
Yes, that would be the goal.
I'll entertain a motion on this one.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the service agreement with Kimley-Horn for the roadway, water, and wastewater impact fee professional service agreement.
Okay, I've got a motion. Do I have a second? I've got a motion and a second. Discussion?
Yes, I want to make sure that our city attorney has reviewed this. I think it'd be good if we had you review it before we approve it. Same with the planner, Mr. Coker, if you had a chance to look at it. Okay, in your opinion, okay. My question was it, and I've already had this answered, but I thought I would publicize it, that is now the right time to, I know the roadway is past need, was now the right time to do the sewer and the water, and speaking with Mr. Hildebrandt today, now is the perfect time to incorporate that aspect of it, to get it all three done at once.
Right, and I think Conrad had something he wanted to say.
I also was going to say that if the council chooses to approve this, we will definitely get the city attorney to review it, and if there's any questions, you can do it based on the city attorney's approval. And if there's issues, we'll bring it back.
I'd like to just revise my motion.
I was going to say the same thing.
I'd like to just revise my motion based on the city attorney review, that the city go with the Kimley-Horn roadway, water, and wastewater impact fee professional service agreement.
As amended, yeah. As amended, yes.
All right, if there's no other discussion, all in favor?
The only other consideration was, and I made this last time, was the cost, $154,000. Yeah, I see the breakdown, and it seems to be reasonable. The other consideration was that in the future, if we have something of this amount of money, that we get others coming in and perhaps giving us estimates on something similar.
Right. Well,
but we've worked with Kimley-Horn in the past. We feel comfortable with them, and so just a consideration for future.
Okay. Yes, sir.
All right. With that being said, all in favor?
Aye.
With those revisions to the motion. All right. Next thing, 6.2, the Patrick Roberts final plat. Mike?
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, this is a request for a final plat for a two-lot subdivision on Rocky Dell Lane, which is really a 60-foot wide mutual access easement off of Rochelle Road. It divides 10 acres into one lot that's 8.5 acres. The other one is 1.5 acres. It's in our ETJ. And as a result of that, you have to have 1.5 acres for on-site sanitary sewer facilities. Mr. Roberts is dividing this 1.5 acre for his son to build a house. With that, the Planning and Zoning Commission has recommended approval The staff, your staff has recommended approval. I ran it by Ron Merritt at the county because part of our interlocal agreement is that he has to review these things. He's also in favor of this. So the staff's recommendation is for approval. I'd be glad to answer any questions that you might have.
Mona? Dan?
No, no.
Okay, there's no questions. Thank you, Mike. All right, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve 6.2 Patrick Roberts' final plat.
I've got a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right. If there's not any discussion, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay. All right, before we move on, as I'd said a few minutes ago, or at the beginning of the thing, 6.6, discussion and possible action regarding amending the food truck ordinance. That is being pulled. That will be reassigned to a later city council agenda because the ordinance and all that, we unfortunately did not get it in with the packet in time, so we're going to pull that agenda item. With that being said, before we go on to some of these others, we have, let me find them, 6.4, 6.7, and 6.8. We're going to move to executive session on those three, which fall under 7.1, 7.2, and 7.3. Adjourn into executive session pursuant to Texas Gov't Code 551.071 and 071.1 and 551.071.2. Consult with the attorney and executive session will be conducted to discuss and receive legal advice concerning pending litigation and/or settlement order or on the matter in which the duty of the attorney to the governing body under the Texas disciplinary rules of professional conduct of the State Bar of Texas clearly conflicts with this chapter relating to the first one being City of Heath versus City of McLendon-Chisholm, cause number 1-22-1204, pending in the 382nd District Court of Rockwall County. The other one, 7.2, is pursuant to Gov't Code 551.0714, dealing with personnel, and 7.3 is in accordance with 551.071, consultation with the city attorney, again, in a matter in which the duty of the attorney of the government body under the Texas disciplinary rules of professional conduct of the State Bar of Texas clearly conflicts with this chapter concerning a police department. The time is 7:29. We are going to adjourn into executive session. We'll be back out shortly. Must be. What are you trying to say? That was all my talking? All right, is everybody's here? Yep. All right. Look at my clock. 9:08, we're back from executive session. As far as, hold on, I gotta go back and look at mine. As far as 7.3, no action taken. As far as 7.2, no action taken. And 7.1, no action taken in executive session. Now let's move back up. 6.3, that's the, was that one?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. That's something that we have more documentation that we're researching, and
So
we
we
didn't.
wanted to pull it?
And, yeah, we didn't
Okay.
do it. If we can just table it or just no action, and we'll bring it
I
back.
would- If it says review and action, since you're still looking into it, I would say the action is finish what you're doing and put it on a future agenda item. 6.4, discussion and possible action on the police department. We'll put that on a future agenda item to open up, I guess, how would you word it? Open it up to discussion and public input. And now 6.5, discussion and possible action regarding a travel policy. Conrad?
Okay, yes, thank you, Mayor, members of the council. The city is not currently have a formalized travel policy and authorization form. In your packet, you'll see a formulated policy that goes right with our procurement policy, and it's very similar to policies throughout the entire state of Texas.
Gotcha.
So that's something that I feel we need to have and follow. When mayor and council, staff, anybody spends money on travel, going to trainings or things like that, we can document every dime that's going and how it's going. So for potential future, if somebody has a question, and show them exactly what's being spent, and what they did, and what they got out of it.
No, I think that's a good idea. We need to do a motion on that?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve the travel policy. With the exception, I would like it to reflect in the actual policy that this does apply to the mayor and council, not just city employees. Because your staff report did allude to the fact that it did apply to council members and the mayor, but not in the actual text of the policy.
So you're saying it applies to both us and
City employees.
Okay, yeah. That's what I thought you meant. Yeah, I don't have a problem with that. There's the motion. Do we have a second? Second. Okay, any discussion? If not, all in favor? Aye.
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 Now, 6.6 was pulled. 6.7, consider resignation of city council member. On 6.7, Councilman Purdy has resigned, and we will be accepting his resignation. I mean, I've never heard anybody saying, hey, I quit, and you tell them no, you can't. So, I think that's pretty self-explanatory there. What we do in relation to that open position, we will put on the next agenda. Then 6.8, discussion of City of Heath versus City of McLendon-Chisholm, cause number 1-22-1204, pending the 386th District Court of Rockwall County. I don't have anything to say on that. Michael? It's an ongoing case, and I don't want to damage it for either party. So I don't think it would be advisable for me to say anything or anybody else. Just because it's not fair to either party in this particular case. And that seems to be all of our agenda items. Number 8, updates, discussion, and direction to staff. I mean, we're after the first of the year. Hopefully everybody had a great holiday. Just Remember tax season's coming up real quick. And Valentine's. Or Valentine's coming up first and then tax season. I really don't have anything other than that. Brian, do you have anything from your last meeting?
I have nothing on the last meetings that I've had. I'm assuming you're still going to do number 9. Where I can speak.
That's fine, you can do that now.
I do want to touch base on my daughter speaking tonight. I was very proud of her. I didn't find out that she was going to speak until late in the afternoon. She has overheard my conversations. She has overheard my prayers. And she understands my faith based on things. And some of the notes I had in my hand tonight while I wrestled with tonight's meeting, I wrote Joshua 1:9 down in the scripture. And if you go and read it, it talks about being strong and courageous. And I shared that with my daughter probably a couple of days ago. And that could be maybe why she spoke tonight. I've also reread 1 Samuel 17, David and Goliath. I did that because I also wrestle with if there was, the small versus the large. We talked about, I've wrestled with so much here. One thing I've overheard and one thing I've made sure to make clear to my daughter, and I've heard many conversations within our meetings here to wherever else, and I'm going to say Luke 10:25-37 should be something every one of us should go back and remind ourselves to read again. Love your neighbor. Heath is our neighbor. And I don't know how I stand on a lot of this stuff, but they are my neighbor. One of them referenced that we go to the same schools, eat in the same places and stuff like that. And while they may not be my constituent, and I definitely recognize that, they are people I see every day. And I also am a citizen here, and I share these roads. So I guess where I'm at on things is I love that my daughter spoke, and I am staying in the fight on due diligence to make sure that we just are on the right path. That's just where I'm at. Thank you.
Dan, you have anything?
No, other than I appreciate Adrian coming up and speaking about the water situation that we're going through. Actually, she stole a little bit of my thunder because I was going to provide virtually the same report. But that being said, you did a very good job at that. The tardiness or the delay in all this is frustrating, and I share it with Adrian being on the committee as well. And I just wish there was some way we could accelerate. I know we've had a lot of conversations with them, particularly the point of the election itself has been dragged on unnecessarily so. And I think that for them to go and look for a couple more agents to review that was pretty much unnecessary. I really took to your recommendation, honestly, with Chris Lynch coming in, and could have facilitated that so easily and so quickly and at a minimal cost when you put it all in perspective. And they just didn't jump at that. It was a simplistic approach that you advocated, and I felt comfortable with it. But somebody's going to have to pick up the ball on this thing and run with it. I don't see a whole lot of desire to do that on RCH's part. I know what we're doing, but you'd have to have two parties, of having a mutual interest here and wanting to get to the same end. Be that with RCH, and I'm not. Maybe there are things that I don't know about RCH, but I know without an election, they're reluctant to really do much of anything, and so that election is primary. And it's almost we pretty much know what the end is going to be with that, because all the for the most part, the community wants a water service provider to be, you know, managing that service appropriately. And I think that most constituents of the RCH want something done. And they see that RCH themselves, their management is lacking in that regard. So thanks for your comments tonight, Adrian.
Thank you. Lorna?
I was going to ask Conrad the status of that Nexco road study, if that had started yet.
Thank you. Nexco, what I told the council is that I'll come back with an updated cost for the contract. You've already approved it. It will be less than what you approve, well, the contract that you approve, but they will be here. They're finalizing it all. They would like, if there are HOAs or other entities throughout the community that are private roads, that they be included with the city's price, and then the city out whatever between the HOAs, if that's something you want to do.
Well,
or
did
not.
you see my email
I did
today?
see your email. And so the cost would be a more beneficial one because it would be tied into the city's overall.
Mm-hmm.
They will, I don't know if they'll be here or not next time, but it'll be on your agenda with the final, probably a consent, because you'll have the final cost is the one thing, so you know exactly, and they've already started. We had a little discussion of, a decent discussion on the roads. It was hard to tell them exactly which roads. They thought all the roads in this general area were public roads. So I think we're close. We may have jumped some private roads potentially. I don't think so, but I'm not going to guarantee it. But their price will come down somewhat, and they're working on it right now. I don't know what the end date. I'll have them put that in your agenda item, where they anticipate to be.
So other council knows that community outreach email group that I have that go to all the HOAs. I asked them that question today, saying it would be their cost if they wanted to have their road study done. And as going right along with that, the next community outreach meeting is on the 6th of February in this facility. And Mr. Polster from the Rockwall County contractor that does roads is going to come and talk about 205 and the outer loop, because that's been of interest to that group. And that's all I have.
Thank you. I don't have anything, except those of you that may know Trudy, our Mayor Pro Tem. Obviously, she wasn't here tonight. She called me just prior to the meeting. She injured her back and needs to be taken to see her doctor. So if you know her, please pray for her. She was in tears when she called me because she was so distraught over her back hurting, but also missing being up here to do what we need to do. So that's all I've got. Guys, it's 9:21 p.m. and we have done everything on the agenda. Meeting adjourned. And thank you, everybody, for being patient and being here. Jimmy, and somebody in the audience may know, does anybody know, I just got a text a minute ago, anybody know why 1139 is closed down? What is it?